Motherly exhaustion, dreams over. Kids, work, no time, no heal. Breakfast with benefits.
Oi, gente, tudo bem?
Merhaba, podcast'imize hoş geldiniz. Bu benim sevgili ana dilim.
Oh. Jó reggelt! A podcasten vagyok, Krista.
Breakfast with benefits.
What were we doing?
What did you say?
I said, hello guys, how are you? In Portuguese.
Oh, nice.
I
Okay,
cursed a lot.
I say good morning. It's Krista in the podcast.
So here we are again in this beautiful Wednesday morning in Miami, in this beautiful city. We're back at our podcast. And today we thought of this nice subject, which is how is the transition from our languages, our cultural norms, and our own cultures from our native countries to the US. And we all agreed it would be fun to talk about this, to talk about the good and the bad and the ugly. And who wants to start?
Well, I can start with tiredness. Why I say tiredness? Sometimes I feel tired speaking another language. You know, at night, I speak my own language, Turkish, to my kids, but when it gets serious, I want to make sure they understand perfect. So I had to translate in English. So how long I've been doing this? 2016, I left Istanbul. And in Istanbul, I was still married to my American husband. So in English, it was in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot fight very well in English, right? When you want to fight
On your own.
full. You want to curse in your own language. You just want to tell all your feelings, what's happening. So we cannot fight properly. So the fight cannot continue for long. It starts with, but I don't know. Why you don't? Why? That's very, very simple, basic English. So
What about the bad words in English?
there's only in the variety there's only the F word. My Turkish, I can go deeper in his family to his generation by generation to aunts and aunts to uncles but I can't. So there is only the one F word. So we left 2016. We moved to London. In London, where I started full-time English. So my life, everything I was dealing, the grocery, the butcher, the life, the work, anything you do became into a different language. So everything could take time, maybe shorter, half a time, maybe quarter a time. It takes longer because you use you have to translate in your brain.
Do
in
you
another
still-
little application, another form that comes, an electric bill it comes, or anything
But do you still translate?
in my brain.
Yeah.
No, I
No.
don't, but it takes more time. It took more time, let's say. Now we're in Miami. It's still...
We
it's
speak
been 10 years.
Spanglish.
Yes, English doesn't work here, so I need to learn Spanish, which I'm trying, but at least they're welcoming of any language. So the body language, for example, I use a lot. Yeah, yes, to live in other language is difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I always feel I can't express myself. In new communities I enter, new groups, I always think in the back of my brain, I wish they know me who I am in real. I don't think I could express enough what I'm saying. So that's why when I communicate, I hate phone calls. Nobody calls anyone anymore. That's another thing. Text, I'm better because I can more freely express myself. So I always think, I'm still thinking it's never going to be, okay, my English is now better maybe, but still it's not the same. I am a different person in my own language.
When I first came to the US, I was 34, so it was 2014, and it's so much different, right? When we come to the US, like to visit Miami or New York or wherever you go, just to talk about, what do? You pay for a museum entrance, you pay for food. Sometimes you won't understand what the waiter is saying or whatever, someone in the plane, but to live, right? To be here
Exactly.
and to learn things like how to order things in pounds. Like, because in my
units.
right in my
units, yeah.
country it's kilos,
Yeah.
and also the all
Centimeters.
other
meter.
measurements like heights
Heights
and when you buy a house, like we did when we first came, like how am I going? They ask for the footage of the house, and I'm like, I have no idea. And then what's the footage of that room in particular? And like, what? And then of course, as it progressed and, with time, we can see apps and Google translators and AI and everything, working for us if we want to better speak another language. But remember, 11 years ago, so much has changed since then, right? And I was thinking of something that happened to me as soon as I got into the culture, right? I was renovating my house in New Jersey, and I remember I went to a Target, and that day was a bad day because I parked my car in the only space I could find because I was trying to find something for the house, and then there was a car that had parked that had gotten half of my parking space, so I had to kind of fit into that tiny space and then get some of the other place. I come back from the store and someone had the time and the energy to write me a letter and left on my screen in the car, like, you called me some bad name,
in
like,
written form.
Yes, in written form. Like I had done it in purpose, that I'm taking people's parking spaces, not ever thinking that maybe that was the only way I could fit into a parking space. So that was my welcome letter,
in English
for the first month. And on the very same day, I'm going back to the house, like kind of bummed with that, like, fuck, who does this? Da-da-da. One of the streets that were heading to my house, one of the streets was blocked, and the policemen were there, and there were some cones, and I did have some space to get into the middle, but of course I was wrong. And then the police guy, he knocked on my window, and when I was going through them, and then he said, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I thought I could go into this middle." And he said, "Of course not." And he noticed my accent, of course. I said, "I'm sorry. I don't know how to express, but I think I made a mistake. I'm going back." He said, "Go back to where you came from."
Oh, yeah.
He's so rude.
Oh.
Yes. And I cried and I cried. Carlos had to, when he came back home, he was helping me. It was just a bad day, but like to explain how so many people, like my family even, or friends, they don't even understand how much, just moving to a different country can be difficult, because so many people from Brazil, they may think, oh, you live in the U.S., everything's perfect.
Oh, yes.
And you live in
I
Disney.
have that a lot
and,
as well.
you earn money in dollars. And,
You
everything.
live the life. You live the life. And yes.
They don't think about the process to get there, what it takes.
No.
Yeah.
But like, also, the focus on money, the focus on productivity that this country has kind of gets ingrained in your psyche. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
And you have to resist that, to resist the time is money culture of this country. What about you, Krista?
For me, when I really understood that I don't speak English so well, when I came after studying English for so long in my 20s, and I moved to the US for school and work. And I was like, oh my God, I don't understand the young people, my peers, how they are talking. I didn't understand the slang. And I so vividly remember this time that I was like reading people's lips and looking at their faces as they talk and try to understand the words. I didn't walk around with a little notepad writing things down, but I remember this time was transformative for me to really learn the language and understand. And I majored in English teaching in Hungary.
Wow.
So I did not just learn English, but I have a diploma of teaching English to children. But this was before that. And then, but I do feel all the time, the cultural differences, and I can share what Beza was saying, that I cannot fully express myself sometimes in English. I cannot find the words. I also think that the used English, the vocabulary, what we use every day, just generally talking, are very kind of basic. Of course, the English language is more beautiful, and if you read old books and things like that, but we don't talk like that on a daily basis. But yeah, it's not easy in some circumstances. But I must say, living as a foreigner in America, being a Hungarian, I never felt a prouder Hungarian. Do you guys feel that? Like, I feel like a prouder Hungarian in the US than a prouder Hungarian in Hungary.
That's interesting.
Never thought about this.
Yeah.
I never thought about this, but we are processing the thought. Julia and I, we are looking to each
I
other.
don't know. Maybe it's
Do you?
No, about
maybe it's a Hungarian thing. I don't
maybe
know.
it's a Hungarian thing.
Is it? Can I say? Can you go deeper in that sentence? Like, why?
I just feel that it's, I don't know, like what I bring, the culture and my accent, by maybe also age helped me, that I'm proud of it. I don't want to deny that I don't have an accent. It's a good thing, because it differentiates me.
But are you proud also because like you came from a small city or like a smaller country and then you conquered the US?
No,
and then
not so. No,
Not
it's
in
not
that
about
level.
that.
No.
No, it's not about that. It's more like, I'm different here. I'm a European. I have an accent.
I'm not one of them.
No, I didn't say that. Maybe this
Difference,
is something that
yeah.
comes with age, and as we're getting riper and wiser with age. Like this is part of a big package, acceptance, that I accepting myself, and I'm accepting this imperfect English, what I speak, and that maybe I don't understand somebody. It doesn't give me frustration anymore. Maybe sometimes, but not so much. I don't give a shit.
I remember you were talking about how, the formal written English versus the day-to-day English. I remember that the first thing that I understood, I don't know how many months after living here, was I actually don't need to know that much English to live here.
No.
Because you get a little apprehensive at first, like, what are they talking about when you're in a cafe, for example? But they always say the same thing. It's like, it's always the same thing. Then you realize that, you're going to get exactly the same thing everywhere you go.
Which was so weird in the beginning. When someone asked me, "Hi, how are you?" I really meant to answer. So when people ask, "Hogy vagy?" then you kind of elaborate a little bit on that. Like, yeah, today was a tough day. I had a shit morning or a good morning. But here, I saw people's faces and they were like, wow, she's really going in. And I'm like, okay, bye.
That's hilarious.
Then I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think in Turkish we have that. Like, how are you? Like, we don't have it. We like, hello, this, that. But when we ask, we really ask.
You start talking.
But if it's a small talk and you don't know, you don't ask that question. You don't say, how is life? How are you? You don't, the greeting phrases.
No, not in Hungarian. Yeah.
In Brazil, if they ask you, oi, tudo bem, como você tá? How are you? You're going to say, oh, it's fine, hi, good, bye.
So you
Yeah,
are
it's more
Americanized
more
a little.
Americanized.
Yeah.
Still laughing to you now that you were answering to how are you question, because I remember, I think I was doing the same. Like when they ask me something,
Yeah, you really
I
mean
remembered
it.
in London, they were like, how was your holiday? I should have said that. Oh, ha, ha, who, you, hey, who. So that should be like short like that. No, I was like, well, actually.
And then you went into the
deep,
2
and and they were walking away. So
Yeah.
no, meaning they were walking and you were like, wait, I was talking, I was telling. And also, you're so sweet. I learned it's like, you're so stupid. It means you're so stupid.
Oh, when they say you're so
Yeah.
sweet.
Oh,
they
you're so
mean-
sweet.
But do you think that
It is.
that you're
It is.
stupid? Well, screw that.
You're so cute. You're so sweet. It means you're an idiot. You're you're a loser. And I was saying, nah, now I learned.
It did also happen to me with, unfortunately, American friends, people that I'm talking to them and they walk away. Like we are in a conversation. We
they
haven't
walk
finished
away,
in a
right?
conversation.
Yes.
And I'm still talking and they are already in the corner. I'm like,
That happened.
wait a second. Hello? Anybody here?
That happened to me so many times. So many
Yeah,
times.
I know.
And I don't know if it's an ignorance, if it's a cultural thing, it's a personal thing, but it happens
a lot to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think now I'm getting what you said about pride because from something that we are talking about right now, I'm feeling what I think you said, which is at first I thought that my English had to sound like the American speakers or whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think that's what you were saying. I feel like my own way of speaking is my voice.
Exactly. That's the
doesn't
way
matter.
I am.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
that's the
matter,
way I am.
You know, it doesn't mean it's bad.
Exactly.
And I think that's interesting
there is
for
no
you
bad or good.
And it takes a while for you to feel your own voice. What is your own voice in this language, right?
Ah,
Yeah. And there is no good
You know?
and bad. It's you. But I also, I think very recently, since I moved here, not previously when I lived in New Jersey, New York, I also started to feel I don't want to belong to this smash. You know, like
Mhm.
I want to keep my own identity. This is who I am. This is how I speak. This is the language what I speak, and this is the accent that I have, and take it or leave it.
Mhm.
I don't
And they
want
were walking away therefore.
Yeah. Some.
And they left.
Yeah. Well, maybe there was
Only the good ones stayed.
Yeah, exactly. Well, be my guest. Walk away, then you are not my kind of
Mhm.
person.
Mhm.
But I'm like, I don't want to fit in. Like, of course, you want to be civil and whatever, fit in. I didn't mean that way, not to fit in, but I want to keep my own identity. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't try to change your accent.
No.
No. Yes.
No.
Even though at first you might want to. But then
Yeah,
you
but you
realize
wanna
that you
fit
have
in.
your own thing, your own je ne sais quoi, just by having your own
Yeah.
voice.
And that's the
An
reason
accent.
that so many people, let's say I'm talking about now the Spanish speakers here in Miami. My husband told me how surprised he was in his office that people who born into Latino families, they don't speak English because they leave their country, not English, sorry, Spanish. They leave their country and they come to this new world in the US and they want to fit in so much that they kind of neglect their own culture. And even some of the people told my husband that the parents didn't want them to speak their mother tongue at home. They wanted them to speak English. So there are all these people, they don't, they Spanish speakers, Spanish mother tongue, but they don't really speak Spanish. They speak English. It has a lot to do with fitting into another culture and being part of, this society here. I think it's important to keep your identity, your mother tongue language alive.
Yeah. Beza.
No, I was thinking, I think you're right. That's the old generation. Nowadays, where I see around my son's families, which is Hispanic, and they really want their kids to speak Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
People embrace it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they do embrace it. Because for them, I can see, because they're born here and the kids are only speaking English and they have no idea speaking Spanish. But my kids also speak Turkish. My son not that very well because he's been away for so long. But I can see how interesting is that this is your own from one of your own, and it doesn't speak your own language, your mother language.
Exactly.
Must
Yeah.
be interesting feeling.
My son, Leo. He
Oh,
doesn't
Leo.
speak
Doesn't speak
Portuguese.
Portuguese.
Yes, here you
And
go.
I was just looking at my photography, the log, and I found him back in 2021. We were living here. He was in his crib. That we had taken the door out of the crib, so it was like almost a mini bed, and he was saying goodnight to my mom in Portuguese still, and I'm like, oh my god, I miss this. But he also had an accent by then, and I figured that for him Portuguese was hard, and it's weird. It's sometimes I feel some kind of like this feeling of missing something because he's not speaking Portuguese. But in the end, he's my son. He's in our culture. He's our family. He was born in Jersey, and he feels American.
Wow.
He
The other kids, you guys don't speak.
we speak Portuguese all the time.
You do.
Yes.
Okay.
And he understands everything.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
If I speak
Okay,
to
I
him in
see what you mean.
Portuguese and
Yes.
he replies in
understand.
English.
Yes. Because he always lived here. That's what happens for my son as well. Understanding is 100%
Yes.
Turkish,
Mm-hmm.
but speaking back he's 9, but he will speak like a much younger version of Turkish because he
Less vocabulary.
less vocabulary.
So Matt was in Hungary for a longer time. He speaks really good Hungarian. Maybe he doesn't have the slang, that his age group uses, 15. But he used to write and read pretty well when we were in Hungary. And then when we started to move around, we're not really focusing on that. So I think he's writing and reading maybe in a second grade level.
I didn't do that to my kids too.
Does. No?
People were sending families that I knew in London. They were sending extra on weekends to Russian school, for example, extra or Arabic school. Lebanese people were sending, and I never did that to my kids. I don't know.
We never did that either.
Yeah, but maybe Turkish reading is easier.
The easier it gets to learn other languages because then you realize, the
structure.
Latin, roots for the French, English, Spanish, and then...
Okay, I'm going to tell you a funny story right now. So, of course, here nobody understands Turkish. I'm very comfortable, so I curse a lot, right? In every public places.
The secret language.
The secret language. Blah, 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 very bad. So because I get used to it. So, I was flying to Istanbul. Right. So the plane landed and the doors opened and we were getting out and everybody's Turkish. They're Turkish. I totally forgot about that. And someone blocked the line and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And I felt all red because I know everybody understood and I was cursing so bad, hardcore. I forgot everybody understood.
Oh my god!
I did my head like that, and I'm like,
you sunk into the ground.
Nobody should hear me right now, and I'm like, I walked fast.
Beza was a crazy lady.
Yeah.
And they just blocked the road, like, what is it? But I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Then I'm like, this is Turkey. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So that was the funny story. So I stopped here also cursing public now because it became a habit.
You never know. Yeah.
Also that.
I have a funny story a long time ago. When I lived in New Jersey, we were at Six Flags Great Adventure theme park, standing in a queue with 2 other Hungarian girls talking Hungarian about the guys in front of us. But not very nice stuff. And then we almost, reached the top of the line and the guys were getting ready to go into their ride and they turned around and they were like, oh, thank you for the entertainment. We really loved it. And of course, in Hungarian, we were like so embarrassed because we were making comments on their appearances and stuff.
Oh, my.
So I learned the lesson to be more vigilant.
Yeah.
Because you never know.
You never know.
And here in Miami, with the Portuguese, you have a lot of Portuguese.
Oh, no.
Right?
Can't speak
Spoken.
Portuguese.
No.
There's all the time. Someone, oh, by the way, we were in Morocco. We sat at a table, and like 2 minutes later, this couple from Brazil sits down next to us. We're speaking Portuguese, and then they start speaking Portuguese. I'm like, can you believe this? Where are the chances? And then we, started talking to each other, and but it's like, yeah, you have to be careful. In Miami,
No, in Miami, you don't have a chance.
You don't
have a
speak
chance.
Portuguese.
You have a chance.
Don't
You
say
can do.
secret things because it's
And
not going to be a secret.
South Miami, I have a chance, but North Miami, I cannot speak Turkish
Oh,
like
really?
that. Oh, they're everywhere.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. No,
Really?
they're in North Miami.
Like Russians as well. So they're where
Yeah.
the Russians are, the Turkish are.
Yeah, Fort
they're
Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, Boca Raton. They're all like, you can, if you say help in Turkish, people will
They would come.
come to you.
Well, that's good.
Here, I'm safe. I can curse as much as I want.
Yeah, so we can sum it up to embrace our languages and where we came from, right? And don't let the mother tongue die. Enjoy the American culture.
Enjoy.
Breakfast with benefits! Breakfast